95% of people hire a real estate agent, and it's not because they're good salespeople. It's because they really are necessary to help you work through your own stuff as you're going to find a home. The best agents out there not only know their business, but they believe in it. At the exact moment when you're the most unsure of yourself and your experience. And how that comes into play is not just at the beginning when they say, we're going to make this happen, but at the end.
But this is my house, Mommy. So when I asked Mr. Kringle for it, it is, I know it is.
Welcome to The Pursuit of Home, coming to you from New York City. This is real people buying real estate and their unique journey to get there. We share the tips, tricks, and frameworks to help you navigate the bumps in the road that you won't see on reality TV or social media, and which no one has talked about until now. These are the emotional, psychological, ethical, and even spiritual challenges you're more than likely to encounter yourself. Learn from experts who've been there and hang out with me, Scott Harris, your host, who's helped thousands of people buy homes in Manhattan over the last 2 decades.
You may be wondering, hey, Scott, where have you been? You've been offline for a few weeks. We haven't heard from you, no new episodes of The Pursuit of Home. And so I have a big announcement. Scott Harris, real estate agent, 20 years, working at a big brokerage firm. I actually left my old firm, took my team with me, and we launched a new brokerage firm. You can see it right here. We launched a company that we're calling Magnetic. It's been very exciting. There's been a lot going on. And as you can imagine, it's taken up a little bit of time. But we're coming back. The Pursuit of Home, refreshed, new energy, and we're ready to share everything that we're doing. And most importantly, that we're interviewing new buyers and their experiences of home buying with agents from all across the country. One of the best things about launching a new company is that we've been able to meet and talk to so many business owners from everywhere. So be on the lookout for episodes that are featuring buyers in California, in Georgia, in North Carolina, and lots of other places who go through the same experiences that you probably will go through wherever you are listening to this. Today, I want to talk about something a little bit bigger picture and also a little bit more intimate. It's what we call the magnetic method. And I'm going to talk a lot over the next few months about a book that I have coming out in October that's called The Pursuit of Home. Why did I call this podcast The Pursuit of Home? Because the book is called The Pursuit of Home, a real estate guide to achieving the American dream. And there are 4 steps, very simple 4 steps to how we help home buyers find what they are looking for, to have a home that they love. I want to go through those 4 steps with you because whether you're working with us or not, it doesn't matter. You want to align yourself with the best real estate agent in your market. And how do you do that? Well, you're going to have to read the book to learn a little bit more about how to find a great agent. But I'm going to give you the 4 steps of the magnetic method and tell you some stories along the way. So buckle up and we're going to talk about it right now. Step 1 of the magnetic method is activate. What do I mean by activate? Again, it's all the metaphor of the magnet, what's going to be drawn to you. The premise of everything we do is that if you do this right, your home will find you. This doesn't have to be such hard work, but activating is all about setting the conditions, getting the whole engine on, getting the magnet turned on, right? What people often will do is sit down with an agent, and you can go online and you can look at every real estate guide out there. And what you're going to see is a whole bunch of questions about your checklist. How do you create the checklist? How many bedrooms? How many baths? How many car slots in the garage? Do you want a backyard? What's the price point? What are the details in the home that you're looking for? And that's great. But guess what? It's also scary. When people start talking about how much the home is going to cost, you will find that half of people out there get very hung up. All of a sudden, they say what they want and they're like, I can't afford it. They say what they want. They think I can't afford it. Again and again, all these little details. This is what I want. Oh, you don't deserve that. There's a lot of internal chatter that if you go about this in the wrong order, it's not going to activate things. It's actually going to shut them down. And question I have for you is, how many times have you gone to look online at properties, and then when it's time to actually go and look at properties in person, you find excuses, you shut down? So my goal as a real estate agent, and the goal of any real estate agent, is to try to activate you, light you up, help you with passion. Find the passion, find the excitement. Now, you may be excited sitting on the couch, you may be excited talking about it, but that enthusiasm can sometimes wane. So activating is creating a safe space where we can have a conversation about what you would love. The order of things is this: talk in depth about what you would love. Put all of those nuts and bolts to the side. We're going to get to them. They're important. Of course, we have to answer them, but get that dream and get that first draft of your vision together. Get excited about it. Fill in the details. Where did it come from? Where did you decide that you wanted an open kitchen? Because you looked at a lot of TV? Okay, that's a good enough answer. Maybe you went to someone's house and you're like, I really love the way that looked. That made me feel excited. That's the kind of house that I want to live in. Lean in to creating that first draft of your vision. And the job of the real estate agent is to hold the space, so that if you're in a couple, that you can talk about it. Maybe you and your partner are not aligned. Maybe you have different ideas. And so part of it is that wrestling match, just to hear all the different ideas that are coming out. Because that first draft of your vision of home is probably not the last vision. Although I think we're going to have a conversation soon with a first-time realtor helping someone find a home in one day, which is a really kind of interesting thing and probably very different from the experience that you're going to have. So I'll tell you a little story. I sat down with a couple over coffee. And it's not something we often do where we meet them at a coffee shop, but this is where we can meet them. This is where both husband and wife were available. And we started talking to them. And they were laying out all the different things that they would love. And I said something to them very early on. I said, if anything goes wrong, if anything doesn't feel the way you want it to feel, I want you to feel very free to tell me what you need and what's not working right now. And sure enough, after about 2 weeks after we met, I got a call from the wife. She said, Scott, I sort of expected that you were going to send me emails every single day with new listings. And I'm not getting emails from you. And so I just don't think this is working. And I said, well, first, I really appreciate you getting back to me. But for what you're looking for, there's not new properties every day. So would you like me to send you an email every day to say there are no new properties? And she scratched her head. She said, well, why don't we try that for a while and see if that helps me? And sure enough, after about a week or two of doing that, we've been working together for a month, her nervous system started to calm down. And all of a sudden she said, Scott, I feel much better about the search. I know that you have my interests at heart. I know you're watching for me every day. And as she relaxed, we got clearer and clearer about what she was looking for. And she got out of the nervousness and into the excitement of the home. And that's actually, it's a great transition, and it's one that you might go through where that nervousness needs to sort of open up into the excitement of what's next for you and not the fear of what is and not knowing what's going to be next, right? Okay. Step 2 of the magnetic method is align. What do I mean by align? Aligning with your vision, getting both you and maybe, because almost 70% of people who buy homes are buying them with someone else, getting your vision aligned with the other person's vision, getting the two of your vision aligned with the communication style and everything else with the agent that you're working on. And what does that actually look like in real life? Well, the way we see that it works often is a little different than you might expect. This isn't all fun and games. In fact, what it often is the questions that I ask of my buyers. You think, oh, the agent's just supposed to know everything. It's actually, the way I see it, you know everything. You know what's true for you. I can't answer most of the questions for you. So you ask me a question, I often answer it with another question, and a provocative one. I'm willing to ask the questions that make people uncomfortable. Now, of course, I'm asking them with love. I'm asking them with compassion, but I'm asking them. And what happens is people, like, their brains fry, because what happens during the aligning, the step 2 part, we actually go see properties. We test out your first draft of your vision in real time. This is in the world, right? You have your checklist. let's say it has 10 things on it, and we go and see a home that it looks like it's going to check every single box. And guess what happens? You don't like it. You don't like it. You're like, and this is a problem. This creates what's called cognitive dissonance. You look at this and you go, wait a minute, what is happening here? Something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong. What's wrong is that you actually don't know. I'm pointing, I don't want to point at you. You don't know exactly what you want. And can be very uncomfortable to realize that what you thought you want isn't what you want. The way I describe it is that in my book, is that there's no free will in real estate. You have all of these desires and you're not quite sure what they are and you don't know where they came from. I'll tell you a story. I have a client who we found a home for a long time ago, and it has this beautiful mosaic tile floor just outside the front door. They're very happy. They're living there. And on the weekends, they used to go visit her family in the suburbs, actually in Brooklyn. Okay. And one afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon, they kept driving often. They would drive by her childhood home on the way to her parents. And she would say, "Hi, kids, that's where I live. That's where I grew up." One day they pulled over to the side of the street. They said, "Why don't we just ring the bell and see if somebody's going to pick up the phone, not phone, but buzz us in." And wouldn't you know it, on that day, somebody buzzed them in. They went up to the third floor where her apartment was, her childhood home. And when they got out of the elevator, the mosaic tile floor outside of her front door was exactly the same. Now, here is a grown-up person who had a ton of success. They spent about $5 million on their apartment. And wouldn't you know it, the home she fell in love with as an adult, probably she fell in love with it because it reminded her of her very happy childhood. It just goes to show you that people can't always articulate what it is. She didn't remember that mosaic tile floor was in the building where she grew up. She was like, her jaw was on the floor. This wasn't on purpose at all. So part of aligning is acknowledging that you don't have to know what it is on a checklist that you're going to love. You just have to create the conditions to find out the answer. It's like a neck down experience. And I talk a lot about it in the book. Why? All of the unspoken, the subconscious, all of those things that you might experience, that you are going to go through, and you just want to be ready for it. One of the best ways to find out what you really like is to make offers on homes. You're going to make an offer, and I'll tell you two different scenarios. One, you make an offer and then the seller responds and you just aren't that excited about it. You're like, "Oh, okay, fine." In that moment, when you're not excited or enthusiastic, I just don't like this property that much. It's not "Oh, I figured it out." You just know it's the answer. And then sometimes they'll call you back and say, your agent will call you back and say, "Wait a minute, we have 10 different bids." And you feel this knot in your stomach. That's how you know, wait a minute, I really do love this. Sometimes you get a little competitive, and it's up to you to decide, am I being competitive or am I actually really in love with this house? And you sometimes have to slow down and ask yourself the question. And I talk a lot more about it in the book, but what I will say is there are ways that you can provoke the truth out of yourself when you're in the middle of your search, and your agent, a good agent, will know how to do that as well. All right. Step 3, amplify. We're starting to get clearer. You already in step 1, you started to build your rough draft of your vision. Step 2, you're clarifying that vision. You're aligning yourself and everybody so that you're all moving in the same direction. Finally, step 3 is amplify. You want to amplify the signal of your magnet, your property magnet, right? And the way you do that, you see a lot more properties. You have a lot more conversation. You do the work of clarifying again and again what it is. You're making offers, you're moving ahead, you're dealing with all of the different issues that come up. You might have to lose a deal or two, but all throughout that process, you're getting clearer. You're building your communication skills with your partner. You're building communication skills with your agent. You're learning what it is, how to talk to yourself, how to talk yourself off the ledge, how to bring in the people in your life who support you in your journey. Who are the people in your family that you can really talk to when you're having a tough time? And who are the people that you probably should avoid in the middle of the search, right? These are the same. I talk about it sometimes when a couple is pregnant and they're nervous about the whole pregnancy. There are people in their life, they're like, well, let's just not talk to those people because they make us more nervous, not less. It works the exact same in your search. So you're amplifying the signal, you're building it up. And what I talk about often is that you have to share this vision as you learn it. You have to say, oh, you know what? We realize we really want something on one level, or we really want a duplex, or we don't like split level ranch. Whatever the discoveries are as you're going through, something about the size of rooms in this style house just doesn't work for us. Or you're in Connecticut and all the houses are older and you need something that's a little more contemporary. Well, that's a great learning. And so you need to share that vision with other people. The more you communicate it to other people, the more real it becomes. And it's a process that can take a short amount of time because you're getting clear in a hurry, or it can take longer. Guess what? There's no shortcut. A lot of times people come on the show or they're buying a real estate guide. They're like, how can I do this faster, better, get a better deal? You want a home that you love, and it's going to take as long as it takes. Sometimes it may take less time. It may take more time, but it's about your journey. There's a lot that goes into amplifying your signal. And what I would say in closing about step 3 in amplifying this is that the more you communicate, the better. Over communication is not a bad thing when it comes to talking about this vision, but you have to get more and more confident about it. And you have to be willing to talk about it sometimes. And there's a part of people sometimes I know, like you have to surround yourself with people that really support you. You know, let's say you have a bonus and you're like, oh my God, we can afford a bigger house. Well, who can you talk about this with? You may have to adjust who those people are, but you have to find them. I really would encourage you to think a lot about who are the people in your life that you can talk to, and don't be afraid. You gotta let it rip. Okay. Now, the last step is attract. You're creating the conditions. It's like Domino's Pizza. That home is going to be delivered to you and it's going to be great. Part of this goes way back to the very beginning of the search. And when you are activating your search, there's this idea that people are excited and then things go off the rails and they have to stop. Or in the case of a buyer we had on the podcast a few months ago, their agent told them, hey, step back. You need to save some money and come back. And they did. They took that advice, that tough advice, and they came back and found a home that they loved. There's a lot of times when there's stops and starts, fits and starts, all of those things that could get you really depressed. But the big thing I was going for here is that the agent you choose to work with, and believe me, 95% of people hire a real estate agent, and it's not because they're good salespeople. Okay. It's because they really are necessary to help you work through your own stuff as you're going to find the home. The best agents out there not only know their business, but they believe in you. At the exact moment when you're the most unsure of yourself and your experience. And how that comes into play is not just at the beginning when they say, we're going to make this happen, but at the end, because you often, when it's time, when you've done all of the work, and you're amplifying, you're putting it out there, that's the moment when all of a sudden you have this little thing in your head that says, well, wait a minute, I need to see it to believe it. I need to see the home to believe it. Our way, the magnetic method way, says, no, it's the opposite. You need to believe it, and then you'll see it. You need to know it's going to happen with a lot of certainty. And at the beginning, it's really hard to do, but over time, it builds and builds, and your agent and you are a partnership to build that belief so that at the end, you get really close, that home just shows up. I'll tell a little story that I think is really illustrative of this. During COVID, we had a buyer who couldn't look at homes. It was illegal to look at homes in New York for about 3 months. And right then, during that time, for some reason, in the middle of when you couldn't look at a property at all, a seller decided to cut their price by 10%. And wouldn't you know it, we had seen that property before and we dismissed it because it was too expensive. And it went through one price cut and then it went through this price cut. And they were able to put this deal together as they were sitting on their couch with nothing to do other than Netflix and probably too many bottles of wine. And at the same time, we were talking that whole time about what did we learn from our search? How are we going to get ready? What did you learn? What is that home going to look like? We spent the time during those 3 months building their belief that this home search was going to turn into a dream home at the end. And if you look at all the 4 steps of the magnetic method, again, activate, align, amplify, attract. It's all about making this easier for you. People want shortcuts, but what they really want is for the experience to be positive. It's not about how fast can you do it. It's about, do we have the great result at the end? And did we enjoy ourselves in the process? Because if you go and look at the research says not only do people have a tough time finding their home, but their end result was terrible. I want to fix all of that. And that's what the magnetic method is about. That's why we launched this company, Magnetic, because in the middle of the 2 toughest years in real estate, we had our 2 best years because we got to the heart of what really matters, which is helping people move forward in their life. And I look forward to continuing to help you, to introduce you to buyers who've had interesting experiences that you can learn from, to meet agents from across the country who have big hearts, who really care deeply about their clients, their buyers and their sellers. And ultimately, so you can learn what real people buying real estate really looks like. That's not reality TV, and it's not TV shows at all, and it's not social media. It's the real thing. It's the emotional world that's underneath the transaction so that you can have a better experience. And on that note, I look forward to seeing you when we're talking to new buyers in our next episode. That's it for this episode of The Pursuit of Home. I hope today's conversation gave you insight, clarity, and maybe even a new way to think about your own home search. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review the show. It really helps us reach more people on their own journey to home ownership. The Pursuit of Home is proudly produced by Fame, the B2B podcast production agency. Find The Pursuit of Home on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you listen to podcasts. And if you want to connect, you can find me anytime on social media or at Magnetic. Till next time, happy home hunting.